Hi. So I've been meaning to learn how to use AI to do text generation, and a few years back I came across this article about someone from Singapore training a model to generate Singlish text messages as responses. And recent advances in the GPT-3 engine really caught mainstream attention. And I thought it'd be pretty cool to try out something within the text generation or AI field. AI Dungeon was another one of those very fascinating projects that came out as well, which is like text adventure generation by using completely just generative AI. I thought I'd try this someday, but instead of generating just short replies like SMS messages, I want to try to generate whole essays based off Singlish. Cause why not? Okay, to get started, I searched for existing projects and attempts at doing this, and there's a lot of guides and tutorials on how to do basically text generation using AI. But I realized that Tensorflow also has a guide, and it's pretty well done, pretty elaborate, and it goes through step by step exactly what is going on. So I thought I'd use it to get me started. So the first thing I did was to follow Tensorflow's Getting Started guide, which helps to iron out all the runtime issues or like missing imports or libraries and drivers that need to install. It also immediately shows you the structure of exactly how a ML script will go. Basically how you get the data, how you process data, and how you train the models, and then eventually using the models to do your logic. The next part was me following the text generation tutorial. It was pretty straightforward. The example tutorial really explained each step of the process well. So what I did is copy each of the segmented code into my own editor, walk it through section by section, then run it to get a sense of what's going on in the code. Of course, you can use the Jupyter notebooks that they provided, but I thought it'd be easier for me to just dump it into my own environment and also help iron out any other issues that I might have missed out. I realized though, after following the tutorial, that there's still a lot I don't know about, such as the different layers and what they do, or what they are used for, or how do you optimize the models to fit your use case, and so on. It's a pretty foreign domain to me, and everything is very new and interesting. So that's exciting. So after the tutorial, it was time for me to start trying to substitute the data, the Shakespeare text, with my own data and see how it functions immediately. So what I needed to do was to find basically existing essays written in Singlish, and not just English written in broken English or whatever, but in pure Singlish. Unfortunately, searching the web, there weren't any essays that I could find that were written in Singlish from scratch. So there were two ways I could have resolved this. One was to write the essays myself by adapting proper essays from online resources, then probably adapting them, rewriting them in a Singlish tone, line by line, which is gonna be quite a bit of work, I think, to generate a good enough data set anyway. So I went with the second way, which is just to source the text from alternative sources like Singaporean blog posts. But unfortunately, sadly, blogs are dead at this time and age. So I also couldn't find any prominent bloggers that were blogging in a Singlish alien or Abing tone at this point. Luckily, I did manage to find this page on Facebook called the Abing Foodies page, and he makes food reviews in this Singlish and Abing tone, which is pretty good to me. So the next thing I need to figure out is how I'm going to scrape and basically pull off all the blog posts off Facebook. I first looked at some existing solutions online and found that there is one that uses Selenium to scrape data off the Facebook web pages. But it seems pretty old. It's 2 years old already, and Facebook recently changed its layout, so I doubt that will work properly. The second method was to use Facebook's own API, developer API, to scrape it, but they made it such that you require specific authorization to gain access to public pages, which probably would not go through for my use case. But luckily, I came across a Python library recently released this year, allows me to easily script a post with just a simple method call. So I can just save it into a JSON file and just use it. So I just, after scraping about 900 posts from the Facebook page, which I think is more than enough data points for what I need, the next step would be load the data and clean up a bit. First thing I did was to filter out the empty data points where there are no text at all. The next thing I need to figure out was what I should use as the input label. So basically, the user would probably enter something as an input. In this case, it will be probably the first sentence or the opening sentence of the post. Then the model will churn out a response continuing from where he left off, right? So basically, what I will use as the training input label will be the first sentence up to the first full stop. And after a lot of troubleshooting, fixing the code, syntax errors, I finally got to train the model and test its output. The outcome is actually very funny. The texts are random at best, but the structure is there. So the next step, we'll try to use some improve the training methods and then tweak and optimize the models, adding more layers or increase the training iterations. But as a start, I think it's good enough as it's functional at least. Now I need to find a way to host the model where we can interact it on the web, which turns out to be a bigger challenge than I thought. The first and more naive idea was to just host it on the web using Flask or something simple, and then have my web page call the API. Then you return the text to you and then display the text. Turns out it wasn't that simple to do, as trying to upload a whole machine learning model into your backend and then importing and using it is very costly, memory wise and bandwidth wise. And so I tried doing that on Heroku servers and one other server, and as soon as I import TensorFlow library, right, even by using the TensorFlow CPU one, it couldn't boot up unless I increase the RAM or bandwidth capacity, which I didn't want to do because it's at extra cost. So the next idea I had was to just run it on the user side, the client side. So there's this thing called the Keras.js, or now called the TensorFlow.js, where you can run the models in the browser. But I ran into a lot of issues trying to convert the models to a JavaScript format. There's something to do with like subclassing and stuff that I don't fully understand, so I couldn't get it working. And to continue on and finish my project for now, I just started on my own backend locally and then tested it out on my own. Oh well, for now this is good enough, I guess. There's a lot of things I can still work on and improve on it until it becomes ready for release. And thanks for watching.